Hey everyone, I'm super excited to be back on the team here at Viva Las Vegas Stamps, and I have an art journal page to share with you today. I'm starting out on a piece of watercolor paper that has a layer of gesso on it, and I'm taking this book text stencil and using some Ranger texture paste to apply that through the stencil in the lower right and upper left corners. And then I'm going to stamp out my Banksy wall, what is she called? The Banksy wall singer. And I'm just going to stamp her a couple times so that I get a nice dark impression. And I stamped her with some Stays On ink because I'm going to color her in using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. And I'm jotting the numbers down there on my paper. I'm starting with 71, which is a super light, like flesh tone color. I actually think it might be called flesh. And then I'm going to go in with this number 72 to darken up some of the areas that I feel like would probably be some of the like low lights or shadows of her face. And then I'm going to use that 71 to blend that color out. And I stamped on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock because that and watercolor paper are the best papers I have found for using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. The Bristol paper is smooth. It doesn't have that texture like watercolor paper has, so it's easier to stamp on. And then I'm also going to blend everything out with my water brush. I'm going to go in and darken up some more of those highlights that got lost when I blended everything out. And then I'm going to add a little 91 gray down at the bottom. I'm not sure if that's part of the wall or, because it's supposed to look like it's, it's taken from Banksy graffiti, which is usually on a wall of some kind. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like weeds that are coming up or what, but I just made it gray because I wasn't sure. And then I also added some brown colors, 62 and 65 to her hair, and then a little hot pink to her mouth and some purple colors, 83 and 82 to her flower in her hair, 81, 82, and 83 to the flower in her hair, and what I believe is an earring on her ear. I don't know. I made it an earring, but I plan to use, well, I chose purple because I thought I would tie in some of that purple in the background of my page that I was creating, but I didn't really have a plan at this point, but I knew that I would be able to bring in some purple somehow. So now I have some slate colored acrylic paint by Handmade Modern, which is a Target brand of craft paint. And I'm just going to use my Dina Wakley brush and add a ton of water to that. Add a strip of that on the bottom of my sheet of paper there. And the texture paste is dry now. And I'm just going to add a ton of water to get that flowing and moving. I really just want to add a light layer of a gray color all over the cardstock. And then I'm going to add some slate gray Dilutions ink to get a little bit more of a darker gray. I'm trying to do like a little bit of a gradient color. Spoiler alert, it doesn't really work out for me. I'd done this technique before with light gray, dark gray, and then a black, and it looked really cool. But I didn't have gesso on my page. The gesso on the page kind of dulls things down quite a bit, especially the Dilutions and the Lindy's sprays. So now I'm going to go in with Blazing Black. And when I apply it, it looks really nice. But once it dries back really light. Like the color gets really light. But we're going to make it work. So I'm adding some of that with a paintbrush. I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the bottle of color and then just run that down my sheet and then add some water there to get things moving and flowing. And I'm just going to add color and water until I'm happy with how it looks. At this point, I didn't know that it was going to dry back very lightly. I assumed that it would dry black like it did on the other project I had done. But like I said, I didn't use gesso on the original project. So if I were to do this again, I would not put gesso on my watercolor paper. I would just have straight watercolor paper. And then I'd get more variation of color with the black inks and gray inks that I was trying to use. So I'm going to work on a little cluster here for my chick to sit on. And I have some painty paper, a deli paper that has like paint through it, and a piece of screening from our catio that we were working on a few years ago. And I'm just putting a piece of white cardstock behind everything because I'm going to run it through my sewing machine. And I was afraid that deli paper and the screening would get like stuck in my machine. So I just wanted to put something really sturdy on the back. And I added this little cluster here because I want to put her up in the middle of my page, because I had a plan to make it look like words were coming out of her mouth, and I didn't want her to look like she was floating there in the middle of the page. So I had to make something for her to ground her. And also the fact that she's attached to the left side of the page helps ground her, like she's not like floating there. And then I'm just going to apply some tacky glue. I hate when glue like squirts out from the edges, so I just apply a little and then smear it around with my finger to keep that from happening. And then I have a Posca paint pen in the fine tip, and I'm just going to do some journaling here so that it looks like it's coming out of her mouth, like she's yelling it. Just in I'm using super exaggerated swoops, like my L's and my G's are just super swoopy and exaggerated. And then I'm going to also add a little journaling underneath her there because I felt like it looked a little plain down there. And then I'm going to edge the whole thing with some black ink. And then I'm going to do some background stamping with Wilted Violet Distress Oxide and Shadow Gray archival ink from the Letter It collection. I'm going to use Mesh Texture by Viva Las Vegas Stamps. I'm going to use Cross Marks Background, which is those like X's. And I'm going to use a newer stamp that says Love Repeat. And all of the stamps will be linked in the corresponding blog post to this video if you want to check out the stamps or get them for yourself. I'm going to stamp that Love Repeat in the Wilted Violet because that helps bring in the purple from the flower in her hair, and also there's some purple there on the painty paper that she's standing on. And I don't really care if you can see the whole phrase completely. It's just for a little interest around the background because the background was really plain, because it did end up looking like one solid kind of gray color. And I'm just going to stamp around also in that Wilted Violet with the Mesh Texture, which is just a bunch of dots. And then I'm going to bring in some Salty Ocean because I thought like we needed a little more color in the background. And the painty paper that she's standing on has a little bit of that blue color. And I'm just going to use those same stamps to stamp in that Salty Ocean color. And then the final touch is some Cerulean Blue Hue Liquitex ink. I love this blue color for adding big splatters to finish off a page. I just take the dropper that it comes with and hold it pretty high above my page and let it drop wherever it wants. Sometimes it gets a little out of hand and doesn't go where I want it, but sometimes it looks really fantastic. So I'm also taking like a thinner paintbrush to get thinner splatters. And I'm kind of making it come up in a diagonal like the way her words are coming up. And that's it for my page today. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm super hyped to be back on the VLVS team. And like I said, check out the corresponding blog posts if you're interested in the stamps and seeing some more of the photos. And you can click the links here to subscribe to the VLVS channel and also watch another video using some fabulous VLVS stamps. So thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.